Sports Talk 1080 The Team Orlando's Tuck and O'Neill with Mike Tuck. I'm Jerry O'Neill. Got the basketball out. Turnover. It's March and March Madness. We're on the eve of the tournament. It's the Monday after the pairings came out. What's your first observations, Mike?
Well, I think that my first observation is this is the most turbulent year we have seen in a long time for the bubble teams. I mean, a long time. And you know why I say that?
No.
Because if you look around, and I do, you probably don't, look at all the bracketologists and what their predictions are leading up to the tournament.
Right.
No consensus at all.
Okay.
Usually you narrow it down to like one team that gets in and one team that gets out. And a good bracketologist is either perfect or he misses one. This year, all over the board.
Well, we saw that coming. We did. But I'm saying that's my observation is we couldn't reach an agreement. You thought that maybe at some point it would narrow itself down as we talked, and a number of bracketologists eliminated teams last week when they were losing in conference tournaments. Right.
Didn't turn out to be the case.
No.
Some of those teams got in. Some of the other ones were eliminated. Just no agreement on what it took to get in.
Some stats jump off the page about this basketball season. The AP top 5, if you were in the top 5 in the AP in any given week, lost 37 games. 21 of those done ranked teams. The AP top 10 lost 74 times. That's the most since the AP has put a poll out. So we saw that kind of volatility. Every week we talked about, though there were head-to-head matchups, obviously somebody has to lose. But the thing that jumps off the page from me is we have 32 conferences in America. We have the Ivy League champion that goes to the tournament. That changes next year. They're going to start playing a postseason conference tournament. And there are 31 postseason conference tournaments. We had 23 one-bid leagues, okay? And only 7 of those had their conference champion win the postseason conference tournament. Now, if you were Indiana or you were Texas A&M, or you can name another maybe power school that didn't win their postseason conference tournament, just think, I'm an Indiana guy, just think if Indiana, who got knocked out by Michigan in their quarterfinals, didn't make the NCAA tournament because they lost to Michigan at the buzzer on a 3-ball. Just think about Texas A&M, who won the 1 seed in the SEC and had beaten Kentucky in the regular season, but loses the way they did yesterday in the championship game, wouldn't go. I mean, to me, hold your postseason conference tournaments. Cut down the nets, champion, and maybe a tournament win, if you're not the 1 seed, would be a strong enough week to get you an at-large bid. If not, make those teams the ones that end up getting to go to the NIT tournament. That's a good consolation. Send the winner. That's the best field.
I think that a lot of us feel bad for the teams that played really well. It's not even that you win your conference. Sometimes you win your conference and there's a tiebreaker involved. The ones that you feel bad for are the ones that win by 2 and 3 games.
Sure.
They dominate their year. And that's why, to me, Monmouth and San Diego State stand out, and Valpo to a lesser extent, but especially the first 2, because they didn't get in. And Monmouth went out and scheduled. San Diego State had a top 5 non-conference schedule in America, and they didn't get in spite of winning their conference in the regular season, while you had 2 500 conference teams in Syracuse and Vanderbilt work their way into the tournament. In Tulsa, God knows I can't understand that. At least you could explain Syracuse and Vanderbilt based on who they beat during the season.
I think Tulsa's getting a bad rap. Tulsa's getting a bad rap. They won some pre-conference games, and down the stretch, look at the conference wins they had against tournament teams. So I think, the American Athletic Conference got, more teams maybe than anybody would have thought. And their loss, Tulsa's loss in the tournament, was more than humbling. But what they did, even late February or early March, in scoring wins against these tournament teams from this conference, is what opened the eyes.
Last
what they
team
did late.
And should have been out, in my opinion. But again, like I said, there's a lot of disagreement. And for what it's worth, Louisville and SMU would have been in. We would have been talking about them being out anyway. The other teams that missed being out anyway. We'll be past this in a day, but certainly this was the hardest year I can remember, I think, probably for the committee to figure out who's on the bubble, who gets in and who gets out. But I feel like you do. I mean, it's hard when you're a conference champion during the regular season. You dominate, and you go out and schedule people
Right.
and beat people
Right.
that you still don't get in. It's like, what are you going to do?
One thing I know for sure, they're going to play the games. We've got the doubleheader Tuesday and Wednesday on the radio, the full slate starting at a noon hour, both Thursday and Friday to the completion of the night, all the way through the tournament. We're your home. Plus, Mike and I, though, will be preempted Thursday and Friday. Talk about it weekday afternoons, 3 to 7 on Sports Talk 1080 The Team Orlando.